Hey everybody, this is Chris Stayte. I'm going to be showing you guys today how to create a contact form on your website. And if you guys want to see what that looks like, it looks like this right here. You can type in your first name, last name, and email. You can type in a message, hi, you're dumb. You can actually enable a CAPTCHA and then click submit. And look at that. And we have all the submissions and everybody can see, and I can actually see what people are talking to me about without actually giving away my information. If you guys want to learn how to do this, watch the rest of this video. All right, so you can see I'm here in the Netlify, I got some comments. It's actually pronounced Netlify, but the Netlify control panel. And what we're going to be doing is actually setting up our contact form. You can see here along the top that we do have a couple of options, one of them being forms, and we're going to go in there. Now, if you're familiar with general or typical web development, creating a form is using a form tag and throwing in some labels and some inputs for you to be able to use. So what's really nice about Netlify is that it makes it very easy to set it up to send it to your server. One of the biggest pains I had when first creating or talking with forms is either sending it through PHP, which was another battle to fight, and essentially you would create your form page, and it wasn't an HTML file, it was a PHP file, and you would write some very complex looking PHP at the top of the page, and then that would allow you to have your submit button, send a post or an update to your server, and then let your server handle that. And then on your server side, you had to write code to actually take that data and do something with it. With Netlify, it actually handles all of that with one word, and we're going to get into this, but you can see it's just Netlify. So we're going to go ahead and open up Visual Studio Code, and we're going to get into this, and I'm going to show you guys how I set mine up, and it's not super complicated, and it's not very drawn out or long. So I'm going to go into the content page, and you typically on websites you want your code or your contact page to show up on URL/contact. So on this one it'd be blog.chrisstayte.com/contact. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call this contact. And then inside there I'm going to create a file, and I'm going to call this index.md. And the reason why I'm doing this is in case you guys aren't familiar with this practice, on any website, the index file, this will, with the static site generator, this will be rendered into an HTML, and the index file will not load as far as the actual URL at the end of the page. I can show you guys real quick. That is something else I was working on. Here we go. So you can see right here at the end of here, you just have /forms. There's no .html. The way this is accomplished is by just leaving it as index. If you were to rename this to something else, you would be given a different URL. I'll go ahead and show you guys that on my blog. So on my blog, on these actual pages, you can see here that it actually renders it out as this right here. And if I go back into that, if I go into a coding, it does that. And the nature of this one is it's gonna rename this to index for you, but I just go ahead and rename that as index right off the rip. Now again, we do need to write some front matter here. So I'm going to be writing some front matter code. I'm going to type in, all we really need is the date. I'll put this in as 2018. And then I'm going to put the title, and I'm going to put get in touch. And what this is going to allow me to do here is it's going to kind of show up at the top of the page. Hey, like, get in touch, talk with me. Now what's really powerful about markup or Hugo here is the fact that you can write HTML right here in your markup files, and it will render that on the page. So we do need to create a form, and what we're going to do here is I'm going to call this method a post. And what this is telling essentially the web page is that when this form is submitted, because we're going to add a button on it, when this form is submitted, you need to send along with the header information to the web server that this is a post action. And so your method of submission is your posting. That's not very important. And what we're going to do here is we're going to call this we're going to call this contact. Yeah, I'm going to give that a capital C. So the name of this form is contact, and what we're going to do here is then get into the form. I'm going to create an end tag. There we go. And I haven't, what you guys have seen from the intro of the video, I haven't actually filmed that yet. I haven't filmed the intro yet, so I'm kind of building this form as we go along, kind of freehand, and so there might be some spots where I'm going to mess up, but that's okay. We can always come back and troubleshoot that and fix it later. So I'm going to change the style. Actually, I'm sorry. We're going to create a paragraph here. You know what? I won't create a paragraph right now. What we're going to do is we're going to create a label. And we're going to say for, and we're going to say this is the first name because I want them to put in their first name. And we're going to call this the first name. There we go. There we go. And then right after that, we're going to do a line break like that. And then we're going to create an input. So there is an input tag, and we're going to call this type equals text. And then we're going to give it an ID equals first or last name, essentially, or no, first name, like that. And then we're going to give it the name, which is first name. I think I have to put quotes around that. Now let me make this a little bit bigger for you. There we go. Sorry about that. Didn't know if you guys could see that or not. And then we're going to put a placeholder in there. So that way you have something sitting there before the user starts to type. And then once they type some text into that box, it will erase that. So I'll put your name. Your first name. Right? And then I'll put ... There we go. Make that a little bit smaller. There we go. So that'll be their first name. And then after we've gotten that one down, we're actually I'm going to create 2 line breaks here, and you'll see why I do this in the future, but if not, or if you guys want to understand what I'm doing there, all that's essentially doing is creating some space in between these text boxes and labels, so that way they're not all stacked on top of each other. Now I'm going to put another label here, and we're going to call this type text. Actually, for equals last name, and then we're going to do last name label. All right, so now we have that one. We're going to create again another line break, and we're going to create an input type equals text, ID equals last name. Do I want that to be the same? Yes. We're going to go up here and fix this real quick. There we go. All right. And then name equals last name. Placeholder is equal to your last name. There we go, make it all look the same. And again, we can add some line breaks right below it. All right. So there's a couple, there's only, two more things I'm going to have to add to this form to get it looking good, get it working. And the first one is going to be here, an input, or we're going to put a label. And we're going to call this for, and we want the user to put in their, or the person on your website to put in their email. And so in order so that in case we need to communicate back with them, so we're going to type in that label. And then we're going to type in a line break, and then we're going to do another input here and type email or text ID equals email. And then we can add a placeholder here equals email at example.com. Just to kind of show them what that would be. And I forgot the name, which is going to be email. All right. And then we have one more to put in there, and that's kind of what we want them to put in there, kind of like their message. So we're going to put a label here for a message. Don't you love HTML? And then right here, we're going to put a text area, which is another form. So instead of using an input, we're going to use a text area, which allows you to get that kind of bigger box that's adjustable. You can adjust the height of it, sometimes the width, depending on your layout of your website. And we're going to name this message. All right. So now that we have that message there, text area ID message, we're going to name it message, and then not a comma, placeholder equals write something interesting. There we go. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to set up some styling because I want to have some default styling. I want to set the height equal to 200 pixels. That seems like a pretty good height that we're going to be using. And then we're going to finish it off by putting an escape tag. And then right below that, I'm going to put a line break and another line break just to kind of give it some stuff. And then we need to add actually an input, which is going to be a button. So we're going to do type equals submit. And then we're going to do value equals submit. And then we're going to do style equals nothing. And hopefully that'll be a little button that says submit. So if we did everything right here, what we're going to do is we're actually going to, let's see if we can run it locally. I'm going to run inside terminal. We're going to Hugo server. And we're going to see if we can get this to work. So I'm going to bring over this and type in my local host 1313. And we're going to go to /contact. And right there, you can see it isn't very pretty right now. We're going to work on styling this in possibly a future video, or if your theme allows it, but we're going to work on that. But you can see I kind of have this working here, right? So I can do Chris Stayte, email at example.com, and then I can do hi. And then when I click submit, it does nothing here because this submit button is set up to do nothing. We're not actually on a live server, but that would actually work. So what we're gonna do here is after we get done with that, we're gonna actually post this to our website to see if we can actually get something working. So I'm gonna go type in added contact page, and I'm gonna post this to my Git repository. I'm gonna push this up to the server. Cannot push. I need to poll first. A lot of changes, and then I can push. Here we go. And now we're good. So I'm going to go back to my browser. I'm going to go back to my deploys. And we're going to go into here into building. And we're going to see and look at what this looks like. Boom. All right. So we're going to go blog.chrisstayte.com/contact. And boom. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to type in name, state, ctstayte@gmail.com, and then do hi, right? Something simple. And you can see, boom, it goes 404 page not found. There's a problem. What's going on here? Well, what we forgot to do is we actually forgot to add this little tidbit or this little tiny piece into our website. And that's right here under forms. And what we need to do is we need to just write the word Netlify down there near the end. So right here at the end, we need to do Netlify. And what this is going to let it know is that this is a form that Netlify needs to process. We're going to say added form. And then we're going to push this up to the server. All right, so you can see it grab that. It's going to start processing that. And then we can actually see how this works. It's going to be awesome. All right, that site is live. All right, the site's live. So this time we're going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to type in my information, type in hi, and I'm going to click submit. And you can say, oh, hey, we need to fill out this CAPTCHA, right? So you do that, and then you click submit, and boom, look at that. They give you a thank you message and everything. So that's really nice, but how does this actually get to you? How do you get this information? Well, if you go back to your Netlify, your Netlify site, and then if you click on forms, you can see right here, it detects that you have one form, and one form is collecting data. And right down here, you can see it's called the contact form. And we already have a submission, and you can click on that submission, and you can see this was received at 6:04 p.m. from this IP. You can see that it has the first name, the last name, email, and message. So you can see all that. It's very easy to read, very easy to use, and you can actually download this as a CSV. Additionally, you can actually set up, if you go into here in the settings and usage, you can actually set it up to either post this to Slack for you, hook it to a webhook, or send you an email automatically as soon as those get inputted. So you can see right there, we already have some functionality to our website of adding a contact page. But I want to work on a couple things here. The first one being I want to work on that CAPTCHA. I don't like how it goes there and then to a thank you page. I want it to be on the same page. And then the other thing being is I don't want to have to go to that default thank you page that Netlify has. I want to create kind of our own thank you page. So let's work on that real quick. It's the first thing we're going to do is the CAPTCHA. That one's pretty basic to do. To do that, all we're going to do is go into here, right underneath before our submit button and all that. And we're going to create another couple line breaks. And then right here, we're going to create a div, and we're going to call this data-netlify-reCAPTCHA. And then we're going to close that div tag. And what that's going to do for us is that's going to automatically create that CAPTCHA. You can see where I learned that at if you go into forms and then you click on their documentation, and they have that in here. You can actually manually do that. I don't want to sit here and spend all day showing you guys where that was, but I just kind of read this one page and it showed you where that was. Now, the next thing before we go on to that thank you page is something I want to explain to you guys that is very powerful that Netlify does for you. And that's what is called in the biz called a honeypot. What this is when you have a honeypot, it allows attackers or people that would spam your website. If someone were to write a bot that would go to your website and essentially fill out your form and then keep submitting it over and over again, whether it be on an automatic basis or just trying to field some questions or whatever, that can be stopped. And how you do that is, or how Netlify does that, and it's very genius of them, is you create a input on the page that actually allows you to input some data. And if you actually input that data, if you input that data but it's hidden, so you'll say you put a text box but you hide it from yourself, but when somebody writes a script, it's going to go in there and look for all the text box, write some data into them, and then click submit for you. What that would do is that would actually activate Netlify to say, hey, this is a robot typing in this data. There's no way that somebody actually went in there and made that invisible or made it visible to see, and then filled it in and click submit. Let me show you the implementation of this and how this works, and then it'll make more sense. So right here at the top of our form, we're going to type in, we're going to create that P, and then we're going to do a style. And then we're going to say this visibility is hidden because we don't want this to be seen by the average user. And we're going to create a label in there, and we're going to say, don't fill this out if you're human, right? And then we're going to create an input. Don't fill this out if you're human. And then we're going to create an input. Name equals bot field. All right. And then and then before that, I actually need to close off that label. All right. So you can see I created that right quick, and then right below that, we're going to end that P tag. But how do we tell Netlify that we want to use this? Well, it's pretty simple. Up here, we go to data Netlify equals true. And then right there, we're going to do Netlify honeypot equals bot field. And so what this is going to do is that if a script or automatic attack were to fill in this field right here and actually click submit, it's not going to accept it. It's going to say, hey, I have a honeypot set up, and why is this happening? And if we actually go to the, I'm gonna open up the local host 1313/contact. If we actually go here to our site, you can see that it doesn't show up. And I'm going to inspect this page right here. And we're going to go into this section called the content, and we're going to go into the form. And you can see here, this is hidden. And if we turn this off, it does show up. So you can see, don't fill this out if you're human. We turn it off, and they can't see it at all. But a script will not do that, and it will override that data. And so I think we're good on that. But before we test that on our live server, I actually want to set up that thank you page. I want to fix that. So what we're going to do here is, again, underneath content, I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call this thank you. And in there, again, I'm going to create another file. I'm going to call this index.md. And now I just need to write kind of a quick page saying thanks for your submission or something. So we're gonna create some front matter here. I'm going to call this the date. Actually, let's do the date is equal to 2018 again. I believe that needs to be in quotes. Yes, 2018, and we're going to call this title, and we're going to do thanks. Actually, we're going to say cheers, and then right below that, we're going to say thank you for your submission. All right. So now that that's set up, what we're going to do here is if we actually go to that site, 1313/thank you. I'm going to pull it over here so you guys can see it. It'll look kind of like that. So I'll say thank you for your submission. And actually, I can let's just erase that and just type it up here in the title. Thank you for your submission. All right. So now that we're done with that, I'm going to go ahead and go back to our contact. And right here at the top, right after form, we're going to type in an action, and we're going to say the action is go to thank you. What this means is that as soon as this form is submitted, instead of going to that default page, it's going to go to a page that is the URL blog.createstayte.com/thank you, and that should load that other page that we created. So I'm going to say added thank you page and added honeypot to our Git notes. I'm going to submit that and push it up to our server, and then we're going to go ahead and open up Netlify and see how it works. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go back to our website and go to contact. And you can see here I can put in my first name, last name, email, write a message. I can actually expand this out. Say thanks for the comments. And I can right here click on I'm not a robot. And then at the bottom click submit. And you can see it goes right here to this thank you page. So it says thank you for your submission. And it doesn't drive the user away from your website or change the theme. And you can go right back to the top. So that is how I add the contact page. I'm going to be working on actually styling this and making sure that people can, that actually goes to the theme of my website and looks good. So I might do this on my own time and then show you guys what I did, or you guys can just check out my repository. All of my entire blog for you guys to know is on my website on github.com. You can get to my GitHub right here on this link, and all of that code for that website and everything about it, the theme and everything, is on my GitHub. So at any point, if you guys need help, just check out my code, and feel free to leave comments and questions on GitHub or on my website. If you guys liked this video and you guys liked what I taught you, please leave a comment down below and tell me what you guys took from this, what you guys learned from this. Leave a thumbs up on this video, and please hit subscribe. I thank everybody for my subscribers, everybody who's learning and loving these videos. And I will see you guys on the next video.